I'm Aiden Sprower. This is Real Estate Today. I have a great video for you guys today. It's geared towards millennials. I met with a couple of millennials this week, very nice young professionals. We started a conversation and just talking about different things in the market, real estate wise. They opened up to me, gave me a bit more information on their struggles, how they're feeling about home ownership. And I thought it'd just be great to kind of narrow down and hopefully give you some advice, some tips here for all of you young people out there that want to get into the market. I'm going to try to give you 5 tips that will help you, get closer to your goal, and what I would do if I were in your shoes, how I would get things going. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of having a plan, getting things done, and hopefully you'll be closer to your goal. If you like this video, please subscribe. Let's get going, guys. Like anything in life, guys, if you're young, your goal is to buy a property, or your goal is to do anything that you want to do, climb Everest, travel the world, visit as many countries as you want to visit. You have to have a goal. So you have to have a goal, and you have to understand what that goal is. But most importantly, it's not just as easy, I want to buy a house in Vancouver, or I want to do this or that. You want to have, the goal in mind, but most important, you have to have the map, or at least know the road, what you need in order to get there. So you have to really understand, what the map looks like and what the road looks like, and find a way to get there. I see a lot of people, especially a lot of young people nowadays, and guys, I'm not here to talk about just young people. I'm just talking in general, people in general. Sometimes they have a goal in mind, and they think, that goal is too big, it's not achievable, and that's it. The goal is over. And a lot of people with home ownership, they have a goal. Say, I want to buy a place, but a place is very expensive, and I don't have the down payment, so I'll never buy a place anymore, and I'll be a renter forever. So it's not about just conforming yourself to what that is, and if that's your mindset, doesn't matter what anybody tells you. It doesn't matter, what you read. It doesn't matter what advice you get. It doesn't matter what strategy you may read. If you don't have the mindset that you can actually do it, and this goes with anything in life, you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to change your mindset of, it's not possible, to, it is possible. Okay, now what do I need to do to get there? And it's not going to be easy. When it comes to owning a property in Vancouver, we know that they're expensive. We know that you need a lot of down payment. You know that you need a lot of income, and you have to understand what that is, and not just, I'll never get there, and that's it. How can we make it work? And it's just finding a solution to the problems, and being able to find that solution. So understand your goals, and then start to map out what you need to get there, what you need to do in order to get there. What does the road look like? How much money do you need? What is the mortgage payment going to look like? What areas can I buy in? What is realistic? Understand that, and then from there, map out the plan that you need to do there. So that's number 1, understanding the goal and the map that will take you there. Number 2, understand your finances. So obviously, when you're buying a property, you need to, it's based on your qualifications. So, how much income am I producing? What's my down payment? What can I afford? And then once I understand that, where can I buy? Now, for a lot of people, and even with very good salaries nowadays, so even people earning $80,000 to $100,000, getting into a 1-bedroom condo in Vancouver, where the average price right now is anywhere between $650,000 to $700,000, is a big jump, and it's a big hurdle with qualifying to buy there. Even if you have a decent down payment, your income may or may not be enough to get you where you want to. So don't be discouraged by that. Just instead of being discouraged about, I wanted to get into a $700,000 condo, but I can only afford $500,000. Okay, why that is, and what can I do to if I do want to get into that $700,000, what do I need to do in order to get that? So understand your income, understand the numbers, and then from there you can try to see, okay, what can I do in order to manipulate that? And it's really important that you talk to people that can give you that roadmap. So that's super important. Understand, talking to professionals to give you the roadmap. I always tell young people, when the first thing that they tell me, I meet them, hey, how you doing? How are you? Great. I work here, I work there. Oh, that's great. I want to buy one day, but that's impossible for me. That's never going to happen. I'm going to be a renter for. Well, wait a second. why are you telling me this? Why is that all that negativity? Well, it's too expensive. Okay, I understand that you say that, but explain to me, why is it too expensive? How much are you making? Oh, I make X amount. And I talked to the bank once and they didn't qualify me, or I'm just too far away. I need to be making double what I need to be able to qualify. And that's it. They stop it there. It's an impossible dream. It's never going to happen, and they don't move forward. So instead of thinking that way, guys, you have to start thinking, okay, this is where we're at. This is what I need. How can I make it? How can I achieve it? And that's where sitting down with somebody, somebody that really knows their stuff. I'm talking about a good realtor, a good mortgage advisor, to give you the roadmap and the map. Hey, this is what you need to do to make it happen. And these are some ideas. This is what I've done in the past. I sit down with young people all the time where they tell me, I want to be here. Okay, well, you aren't there yet, but in order to get there, you need this, and you need to X amount more money. You need an X amount more income. But here are some ideas where you can get that money, and here are some ideas where you can get that extra income. So there are ways of making it happen. It's not just black and white. You have to understand that there's different ways in achieving your goal, and you have to get there. So number 2, understanding your finances. Number 3, the plan. Once you talk to the right person, they hopefully will help you create a plan. And that plan will give you the idea of how you can get things done. So if you know that you need $100,000 of income, but you're only making 70, how can you get to $100,000 in the qualification to get you to where you want to be? If you know you need down payment, what do you need to do in order to achieve that? And it kind of ties into my number 4, which is, how can I get there faster? So, if you need $100,000 to qualify, what are some options? I mean, a lot of people that I talk to, they're living with 2 or 3 roommates, and each of them are pulling in $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month, and they're renting a place, and they keep on renting for years and years and years. What can you guys do even together? Now, ideally, everybody wants to buy their own place. I'll live in my own place. But if you're already living with roommates, why not talking with those roommates and saying, okay, what can we do together? Why not talking with your parents? Hey, mom and dad, you're doing well. Maybe they have some equity in their home. I really want to buy. Is there any way you can help me? I'm not telling you to give me that money, but can we work something out? I only qualify for $350,000, but the place I want to get to is $550,000. Is there any way we can work out something out where maybe you help me qualify for what's remaining, or maybe I can get a mortgage from you on the rest of the money at X amount? I mean, you have to find solutions, and that's where people get stuck. Once they see they can't do it, they're like, that's it, I can't do it, it's done, it's over. You have to be creative, and in anything you do, in business, in life, in school, and how can you achieve where you want to be, and what do I need to do to achieve that? And understanding what those goals are is super important, but not just understanding about, okay, now that I'm there, what do I need to do? And not just saying, oh, I can't, or it's not possible. It's finding a solution. How can we make this work? I'm going to tell you a story about 2 young guys that I met, I would say about 3 years ago, approximately. These are 2 young men that I went to meet. They called me, they saw my sign somewhere, they called me in for a listing appointment. I went to see them, and it's rare to see 2 young guys. They owned a property. The property was probably worth about $1.4 million. And we started talking, and I said, hey guys, these guys were roommates. How did you, I want to know more. How did you make it happen for you? How was your path to home ownership? And they told me exactly what I'm trying to preach to you guys. They were roommates. They were renting out a crappy house somewhere, and they were both paying $1,500 a month. They both had decent jobs, but entry level salaries, anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000, and they basically thought out of the box. They said, well, instead of us being roommates, why don't we buy an investment property together, and we make it work and buy a place, and just kind of move forward. So they got together, they got their incomes together, they got their down payments together, but not only that, they were missing, they were still quite far off. Okay, well, the place that we want, we can't afford. How can we make it work? Well, if you had a rental income, then you can make it work. So they found a place that would allow them to live together as roommates, as they were living, that had an income income property downstairs. I think they actually had 2 suites. Had 2 suites downstairs, so they were getting rental income, and then their income plus the roommate's income. So all of a sudden, from one source of income, which was going to get them nowhere, one person working with $60,000, they couldn't, not even close, come to afford that $1 million house. All of a sudden, they came from one income to joining 4 incomes. The first person, the roommate's income, then the other roommate's income, so that's 2 income, and two suites that provided another 2 sources of income. So all of a sudden, they went from 2 incomes to 4 incomes, pulling it all together and being able to afford what they needed. But they had a plan, they had a vision, and also they sacrificed too. Because if you think about it, what's the sacrifice? Well, they had to take in tenants, so they had to be landlords, and also there were still roommates. There were roommates anyway, but everybody sometimes they want to buy their own place and just live alone and forget about everything. But you have to find sometimes solutions, and you also have to sacrifice. Nothing is free if you're not a millionaire. If you're a millionaire, you can do everything. But if you're not a millionaire and you still want to live in a nice house, sometimes you need to sacrifice. So that either means becoming a landlord, taking in tenants, or getting more people involved in the investment to make things work. And that's where I want to do. But anyway, these guys, they went for it. They decided they'll do it. They pulled together the incomes. They bought a place that had rental income, also bringing into the equation. And they bought the place. 7 years later or 6 years later, they're ready to sell the place. The appreciation of the property, they probably each made $300,000 to $400,000 each, and now they're ready to sell. And they sat down and said, well, now we're ready to sell this place, and now we want to move into our own place. And they were gonna buy a small townhouse each, and that was gonna be their first place for themselves or their girlfriend and them's. But it took, if you go back, it wasn't just, oh, I want to do it right away. There was sacrifice along the way. There was a lot of decision making they had to do. There was a lot of planning, but the most important thing is that they went for it. And that kind of takes me to point number 5. You have to pull the trigger. You can think and think and think and think about buying, or think about do whatever you want to do. We're talking about real estate buying here, but any goal that you have, you can think and think and think and think. But if you don't ever pull the trigger and start doing things to make it happen, it will never happen. And I have met people. I started in real estate more than a decade ago. I'm going now towards 15 years. I remember meeting people in my first year of real estate that we were talking, and they would say, oh no, I'm not buying it, it's too expensive, I'm going to wait for the crash, or excuse after excuse after excuse, I'm not going to buy. That same person, I bump into them 10 years after we met, they still haven't bought. And guess what? Places have probably gone up 2-3 times since when we first met. So, those type of people, people that are like that they don't pull the trigger, they're never going to pull the trigger. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. I'm not just talking about buying. There's just people that are not capable enough to move forward. Either they're scared, they don't have the guts to do it, they don't have the planning to do it. And there's always going to be people that have a lot more commitment or a lot more want than somebody else. And those that have the want and put things towards getting to that goal, and even sacrificing for the beginning, but getting to that goal, are the ones that win and are the ones that buy. And everybody that bought, a lot of millennials and young people think that, our past generation had our parents had it easy, places weren't as expensive, and we will talk about a lot about these things. And yes, even though real estate would have been lower, also salaries were also less, and there were other problems going on in the world. Interest rates were higher. There's a bunch of different things that were different. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, I've met boomers. We all like to bash on the boomers that never bought a place, and they never bought, and now they're complaining because they didn't buy. And there's tons of them. There's tons of baby boomers out there that have are complaining because they never bought a place and things are so expensive. We need to slow down the real estate market, and hopefully it comes down enough where I can buy. But the reality is these people would never buy, because if they didn't pull the trigger 20 years ago, they're not going to pull the trigger 20 years later with prices doubling or 3 times where they were at that point in time from that time. So, millennials, boomers, it's, we're all people. At the end of the day, there's people that are going to go for it, and there's people that are not going to go for it. And the people that don't go for it, well, they'll sit in the wait. They'll sit in the just kind of waiting. If they want to continue renting for the rest of their life, they can. And you see a bunch of people that are like that never decided to buy. And it could have been many things going on in their life, or it was just basically just a decision. But it wasn't in them. They didn't want it enough to do it. And I see people even in today that are young that they want to make it happen, and they find the solution. And I sit down with them, we go over a plan, and we find a solution to how can you buy. It might not be tomorrow, it might take them a year, or it might take them a couple of months to figure out what that plan looks like. But eventually, I tell you, those people that have their mind set to it, that know that they want to achieve the goal, will eventually achieve it. So number 5 thing, you have to pull the trigger. You have to go for it. You got to pull the trigger. And I promise you, down the road, it's going to be the best investment that you've ever done. Don't do it as speculation. Don't do it because you want to buy today and sell in 6 months and become a millionaire. It doesn't work that way. Real estate, as well as many other investments, you want to buy, you want to hold for a certain period of time. And when it's the right time, if you're happy there, just stay. If it's a home for you, stay there. You'll be doing excellent 20 years down the road, 15 years down the road. You'll laugh and you'll say to yourself, this was the best decision I've ever made. So think about it. It's definitely worth your while. Find a plan, talk to the right people, and make it happen. I'm Aiden Sprower. Call me. We'll sit down, do that plan together. It's never too late. You can always find a solution. It's just a matter of finding the right way to do it. Thank you very much. Join me next week